The year is 1919. The world is still reeling from the aftermath of the First World War, a conflict that reshaped nations and left a trail of devastation in its wake. The guns have fallen silent on the Western Front. The once thunderous battlefields now lie in eerie silence, a stark contrast to the chaos that reigned just months before. The First World War, a conflict of unprecedented brutality, is finally over. Millions of lives were lost, and countless others were forever changed by the horrors of trench warfare and relentless artillery bombardments. Yet, for Germany, the true cost of the war is only beginning to be realized. The nation is grappling with the immense loss of life and the widespread destruction of its cities and infrastructure. The once mighty German Empire lies in ruins, its economy shattered, its people demoralized. The war has left deep scars on the German psyche, and the road to recovery seems insurmountable. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in the Palace of Versailles, just outside Paris, officially ends the war. However, the terms of the treaty are harsh and punitive, aimed at ensuring Germany can never again rise to threaten the peace of Europe. The treaty, however, is a bitter pill for Germany to swallow. It imposes severe territorial losses, military restrictions, and economic reparations that cripple the already weakened nation. It places full blame for the war squarely on Germany's shoulders. This clause, known as the War Guilt Clause, is particularly humiliating and fuels a sense of injustice and resentment among the German people. This guilt comes with a heavy price tag, crippling reparations payments to the victors. These payments strain an already devastated economy, leading to hyperinflation and widespread poverty. The German people are reeling, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of their defeat. The once proud nation is now a shadow of its former self, grappling with a future that seems increasingly uncertain. The war has left deep scars, both physical and psychological. Millions are dead, and countless families are mourning the loss of loved ones. The collective trauma is palpable. The economy is in shambles, factories are closed, unemployment is rampant, and the value of the German mark is plummeting. The once thriving industrial heartland is now a landscape of despair. The future seems bleak and uncertain. The German people are left to pick up the pieces of their shattered nation, facing an uphill battle to rebuild their lives and their country. The Treaty of Versailles saddles Germany with a staggering debt, 132 billion gold marks, equivalent to trillions of dollars today. This monumental sum was not just a financial burden, but a deliberate strategy by the Allied powers to ensure that Germany would remain economically crippled and unable to rise again as a military threat. The treaty's terms were harsh and unforgiving, leaving Germany with little room to maneuver. This represents an astronomical sum, designed to cripple Germany's economy and prevent its resurgence as a military power. The devastation of World War I had already left the country in ruins, with cities destroyed, industries shattered, and a population demoralized by defeat. The reparations were a heavy blow to an already weakened nation. The reparations payments are intended to cover the victors' wartime costs and the immense damage inflicted on their lands and industries. Countries like France and Belgium had suffered greatly, with vast areas of their territories turned into battlefields. The Allies demanded compensation for the destruction and loss they had endured. The German government is faced with an impossible task. They are expected to rebuild a shattered nation while simultaneously making enormous reparations payments. The political leadership is under immense pressure, and the strain is evident in the faces of the officials. How can a nation, already brought to its knees by war, possibly hope to repay such an enormous debt? The German people, already suffering from the war's aftermath, now face an even bleaker future. The economy is in shambles, and the social fabric of the country is fraying. The weight of the reparations hangs like a millstone around the neck of the German economy, stifling any chance of recovery. Banks are failing, businesses are closing, and unemployment is soaring. The financial institutions that should be the backbone of recovery are instead symbols of despair. The German people are forced to contend with shortages of basic necessities. Long lines for food and other essentials become a common sight. The struggle to obtain daily necessities adds to the growing sense of hopelessness among the population. Food, fuel, and other essential goods become scarce and exorbitantly expensive. Inflation begins to spiral out of control, and the cost of living skyrockets. Families are forced to make impossible choices, and the quality of life deteriorates rapidly. The value of the German mark plummets. What was once a stable currency becomes almost worthless overnight. People resort to using banknotes for purposes other than money, such as wallpaper or toys for children. The stage is set for an economic catastrophe that will come to be known as hyperinflation. Wheelbarrows of money are needed to buy even the most basic items, and the German economy spirals into chaos. The hyperinflation crisis will leave a lasting scar on the nation and its people. The German economy, already weakened by war and burdened by reparations, begins its descent into hyperinflation. The government, desperate to meet its obligations, resorts to printing more and more paper money. This flood of currency into the economy has disastrous consequences. The value of the mark plummets at an alarming rate. Prices skyrocket. What once cost a few marks now costs millions, then billions. The German people watch in disbelief as their savings, their pensions, their entire life savings evaporate before their eyes. People are paid in wheelbarrows full of cash, only to find that their wages are worthless by the time they reach the store. The social fabric of German society begins to unravel. The middle class is wiped out. Desperation and anger grip the nation. In 1924, with Germany on the brink of collapse, a glimmer of hope emerges. The Dawes Plan, named after American banker Charles G. Dawes, offers a lifeline. The plan calls for a restructuring of Germany's reparations payments, making them more manageable. The Dawes Plan provides crucial loans from the United States and other countries, giving Germany much-needed breathing room. The plan also emphasizes economic reforms and stabilization measures to curb hyperinflation and put Germany on a path to recovery. Section 5. Politics on the brink, extremism and the fear of chaos. The political landscape in Weimar Germany is turbulent and fragmented. Extremist movements, both on the left and the right, exploit the economic misery and social unrest to gain support. The spectre of revolution hangs heavy in the air. The ruling government, while committed to meeting its international obligations, fears the consequences of pushing the German people too far. Defaulting on reparations might seem like an attractive option, a way to alleviate the economic pressure. However, the potential consequences are too dire to contemplate. Default could lead to a loss of what little international goodwill Germany has left. It could trigger further economic sanctions or even military intervention. Section 6. The Iron Fist, International Pressure and the Occupation of the Ruhr. The year 1923 marks a turning point. Germany, struggling to meet its reparations payments, defaults on a delivery of timber to France. France, frustrated and angered by what it perceives as German intransigence, takes decisive action. French and Belgian troops march into the Ruhr Valley, the industrial heartland of Germany. The Ruhr is a vital source of coal and steel production, and its occupation deals a devastating blow to the already weakened German economy. The occupation of the Ruhr further fuels resentment and anger towards the Treaty of Versailles and the Allied powers. It plays directly into the hands of extremist groups who exploit the situation to undermine the Weimar government and sow the seeds of nationalism. Section 7. A momentary reprieve. The Young Plan and the Illusion of Stability. In 1929, 5 years after the implementation of the Dawes Plan, another attempt is made to address the contentious issue of reparations. The Dawes Plan had provided temporary relief, but it was clear that a more permanent solution was needed to stabilize the German economy and ensure lasting peace in Europe. The Young Plan, named after American industrialist O&D Young, aims to reduce the overall amount owed by Germany and establish a more sustainable payment schedule. This plan was seen as a more humane approach, taking into account Germany's economic capacity and the need for recovery after the devastation of World War I. The Young Plan is presented as a final settlement to the reparations issue, a way to normalize relations between Germany and the Allied powers. It was hoped that this plan would foster goodwill and cooperation, paving the way for a more stable and prosperous Europe. It is met with mixed reactions in Germany. On one hand, some Germans saw it as a necessary step towards economic recovery and international acceptance. While some see it as a step in the right direction, others view it as a continuation of an unjust and crushing burden. The plan sparked intense debates and protests, with many arguing that it still placed an unfair strain on the German economy and national pride. The Young Plan, however, is ultimately overshadowed by a much larger economic crisis looming on the horizon, the Great Depression. The global economic downturn that began with the Wall Street crash of 1929 would soon render the Young Plan's efforts moot, plunging Germany and the rest of the world into a period of severe economic hardship and uncertainty. Section 8. The Seeds of Future Conflict, the Unsustainable Burden of Reparations. The reparations issue, despite attempts to find a workable solution, remains a festering wound in international relations. The Young Plan, implemented just as the world plunges into economic depression, proves to be unsustainable. The Great Depression devastates the global economy, including Germany's. Unemployment skyrockets, social unrest grows. The fragile economic recovery fostered by the Dawes Plan is shattered. The stage is set for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, who exploit the economic misery and national humiliation to gain power. Hitler promises to restore German pride and break the shackles of the Treaty of Versailles. Section 9. Conclusion: a legacy of bitterness and the road to another world war. The decision of Weimar Germany not to default on its reparations payments was a complex one, driven by a confluence of factors. The fear of further economic sanctions, military intervention, and political chaos loomed large. The reparations issue, however, cast a long shadow over international relations in the aftermath of World War I. The attempts to find a lasting solution, while well-intentioned, ultimately proved inadequate. The economic burden imposed on Germany, coupled with the political and social turmoil it engendered, created fertile ground for resentment, nationalism, and ultimately the rise of Nazi Germany. The seeds of another world war, more devastating than the first, were sown in the ashes of the Great War and the unresolved issue of reparations.